Minarchism is an ideology of which is very simple, but unfortunately has been misrepresented heavily by the Ancap community.
I doubt that. A lot of Ancaps are spot on about what minarchy really is. But let's move forward.
And I wouldn't call it exactly libertarianism, but today, let's talk about exactly what it is.
Well, it's not libertarianism, at least not in the purest philosophical sense. Because libertarianism is just freedom, NAP, do not commit aggression, whereas minarchism or slash the Libertarian Party, the minarchy parties, or whatever form of minimal state you have, that's aggression because that's a state, that's enforced rule, and that's enforced payment of said rule. So let's move on.
So let's start off with the word itself, minarchism. The min in minarchism means minimal, as in the least amount necessary.
That's true, minimal. Whether or not this minimal is actually legitimate, or okay, let's continue.
In order to have minarchism, you simply need to be able to determine what the smallest amount of government intervention into your life is necessary in order to keep social order and to avoid chaos.
And that amount is zero. There's no government intervention necessary to have a peaceful functioning society. To determine that you don't even, nor should you even have a little government, you simply need to go by the NAP and self-ownership. Do I own myself as a human being with self-autonomy? And if so, is there an obligation to respect said ownership via the NAP, don't aggress upon people? The answer to both is yes, so if I own myself and can't be aggressed upon, there cannot be even a little bit amount of government because I own myself and government imposes ownership over people, and imposes force, coercive force. So you can't have any government period if it coerces people through people who rule it, the men in suits, the politicians. You can't have that.
That's the key. Unfortunately, many ANCAPs specifically, and a few other people of other political spectrums, will do things like poison the well by simply trying to assume motive.
Minarchy, the motive behind minarchy isn't assumed. We know that it's still a state, it's still imposing rule, it's still force. I mean, sure, it's minimal force, but minimal force is still aggression, and you shouldn't tolerate aggression no matter how small it is. If it's bad, it's bad. If it's bad, it shouldn't be tolerated, period.
So, what motive do they put on us minarchists? It's very simple. They always believe that the reason why we believe in minarchism is we believe that the state is a good, positive influence on the world. More specifically, that it is a good thing to take from others. That it is a good thing to steal.
Well, you guys still want a state, and you still think a state's necessary, and you still support it, think it should be there, you don't think that we should just have anarchy, aka capitalism, aka freedom. So, to a degree at least, you do think the state is a force of good. I mean, you guys don't, worship it compared to some other status, but since you still support it, you still have an illegitimate belief. You still think it's good to a degree.
While I do understand why they would think this, after all, the state takes from you taxes at the point of a gun, which seems exactly like theft, I don't
It is exactly theft.
consider it to be the exact same thing.
Why not?
The key, though, is why I don't. The reason why is not because I believe that the government owns you.
Okay, see, here's the thing. Taxation is theft. Theft is taking away something that's rightfully owned by someone. To own stuff, you have to be able to own yourself, to even have a degree of autonomy to own other things. I mean, if the government is taking your money, they aren't just taking away your stuff, they're taking away your ownership in a sense. Like, you own yourself and you own what you earned. They can't take that away. You get to own your stuff. They can't just take away your stuff and act like, oh yeah, it's legitimate or it's okay. It's like, no, I own that stuff. I earned it. You can't have it. Not by force, anyways. So the government is imposing ownership by violating your ownership of what you rightfully earned.
Or that the government deserves your money. It's
Okay, then why do you think they should take it then?
not a matter of whether you should or shouldn't do anything.
It is. You guys are talking about having a state entity exist, a state, and you guys think it should be around, you think we need it, so you are indeed thinking in terms of should.
The key word there is should or should not. To make this analogy make a little more sense, imagine you have cancer in your face. It started at the tooth and it spread to a good chunk of your face, but not enough where you can't recover.
Well, shit.
Here's the thing. One way or another, you don't want to remove that cancer. It'll be painful.
I would want to remove the cancer. Even if it's painful, I don't want those bad cells.
It'll be scary. It'll be uncomfortable. And that is not something you want to do.
Well, I don't want to have to do it, but I have to do it, so...
The key word is you don't want to do it. Nobody wants to have cancer in their face or have it forcibly removed. The thing is, if you don't, the results of not doing it will be worse than the results of doing it.
Okay, I mean, yeah, that's cancer.
This is the belief that unites minarchists. We don't enjoy the states. We don't want the states. We don't...
You guys do want a state to a degree. You guys think it should be around. You think we need it. You want social order, so by that extension, you want the state.
Want it. Because want is not something you can describe for our motives for a state.
Yeah, you can. If you feel so strongly that it needs to be there, it should be there, it won't be right if it's not there, then that would be a want.
Our motives for having a state are we'd rather have a state over the alternative.
Which is?
We're not enjoying this. We're not enjoying giving other people the ability to tell us what to do.
Well, then be an Ancap and don't do it. Minarchy just isn't gonna work. It's still monopoly on force, still men in suits telling you what to do, still taxation, which is robbery, theft, it's still subject to corruption. All you have to do to have logically consistent, more legitimate beliefs is to be an Ancap.
Rather, it's a shit situation. And unfortunately, this is where the ideological gap between anarchist and minarchist is. Anarchists not only don't believe a state is necessary,
it's not,
but believe a state is evil by default.
It is.
And that's regardless of how practical it is, you have to avoid using it.
Of course, a state isn't practical, and you absolutely must avoid using it if you want people to be truly free, safe, just, prosperous. It's not about having a state, it's about not having a state and having better forms of social order. You know, voluntary association and voluntary hierarchy is not this, oh, the men in suits write laws and we gotta follow them and we didn't sign a contract, but we gotta follow them anyway because they got the guns and they got the tax dollars, so yeah, we're following them. Yeah, that's not the way to go, even in the smallest form.
Because it's immoral. For us minarchists, it's not
it is immoral.
About morality. It's about practicality.
How is it not about morality? You guys want people to be safe. You want order. You don't want to see people kill one another. I'd say there definitely is morality involved in minarchy in terms of like practicality and philosophically and just morality. Yeah, I don't think this is a question of just pragmatism. Like, pragmatism for what? Pragmatism for morality? Pragmatism for survival? I mean, okay, if it's like pragmatism for survival, why do you want people to survive? That question will hit morality, the topic of morality. So, minarchy is most definitely intertwined with morality.
It's the idea that even if you don't want a state, you kind of need it.
But you don't.
Not because you need other people to think for you, and trust me, the state has different sizes that it can be at.
Yeah, a state can be at different sizes, but all are illegitimate.
So you can't just say any state is equivalent to the same as the Soviet Union.
We're not saying that. We're saying any state is bad inherently. Yeah, there are different sizes of states. There are different destructions of states. There are different types of states. We Ancaps know that, but beyond that, we also know that any state is bad, period. It's like you have monopoly on force, you have violence, you have taxation. That's not cool. Let's get rid of it ASAP, or even immediately. That is a state only matters to the degree of how destructive is this going to be. Like, can the state take away guns, or can it not? I mean, if it takes away guns, it's obviously going to be more destructive than a state that can't take away guns. Can it censor free speech? Well, that's obviously more dangerous than a state that can't censor free speech. Or can it tax you so much you get poor, just tax you enough that it supposedly just runs legitimately, which is what Minarchy argues for. Or, I mean, obviously, that wouldn't be as bad as a state that taxes you to death, but it'd still be bad since it's still theft. And that's not cool, no matter how you do it. No matter how you do the math or logic, Minarchy just doesn't work. And yes, some states are shittier than others, but in the end, they're all shit. Shouldn't have them.
No. Instead, we believe one simple thing, that anarchy is not preferable over a smaller state.
It is absolutely more preferable than over a small state. With anarchy, you just have freedom. You can protect yourself how you see fit. You can have private police, private military, private security. You can even form a freaking militia to protect yourself, like some people have done in real life. You don't need the state like, oh yeah, they organized the military and the EMS and that's it in the cards. No, you don't even need that shit because the free market meets all of those needs. Those are material needs and material goods and services. That's what the market meets, is material goods and services. It meets that. So acting like you have to have a monopoly on force and arbitration to have EMS and military just doesn't make any sense. It's like, this is how the free market can provide, yet we're having a state provide it. Like, what the hell?
It's not a situation that anyone wants to put themselves in. Nobody wants rulers, neither
But you minarchists do. I mean, you're minarchists.
do we. However,
Yes, you do. You think that this is the way to go. This is the way to go. So this is the way you want things to go.
we don't believe that in reality that is an option.
It is an option. In fact, humans have had anarcho-capitalism for thousands of years ago, until you get like the most recent 5,500 years of existence. Then you start having states pop up, thanks to some motherfucking pieces of scum shit that decided to enforce a monopoly on force of arbitration, aka the state. You know, fuck the political ancients, as well as the politicians of the day.
We believe that there are only two options. You either have a state and you have a functioning society with minimal interference,
Not possible, but okay.
or you have complete and utter nuclear fallout and chaos.
Are you serious? Oh wow, because there's no government, we have nuclear fallout. Yeah, totally haven't heard that misconception before. And you know, you do realize the government is the reason people even have nukes in the first place, right? You know, it wasn't just private individuals going, I want a super destructive bomb at the atomic level. No, it was the state having the private companies build that fucking shit. So why the hell would you think because you have no state, you'd have nuclear apocalypse? I mean, really now.
I hope you guys enjoyed this video.
I didn't.
My name is Arcean and I am the Angel of Objectivism. Signing off.
This is not objective or objectively legitimate in the slightest. You have a government, you're gonna have force, you're gonna have fuck-ups, you're gonna have robbery, taxation. It's not gonna be good in the end. And, you know, the US essentially started out as a monarchy, or at least small compared to today, in terms of the state. I mean, sure, yeah, you had a slavery and some sexism against women, like owning property or something, and the Native Americans were pushed aside. But hey, that's pretty damn small compared to the shitstorm we have today. And I do mean we to mean you and me, and not we to mean they that affect us. I do mean we to mean you and me, because we are all indeed affected by the state, which shouldn't even be around in the tiny capacity, as I'm trying to argue. I mean, the state just freaking grew. It just grew. People got complacent over time. People got compliant over time. People even lost the view of what the founding fathers really wanted, which was just basic government. I don't know if the founding fathers could be exactly called minarchists, but they most certainly did not want the state to turn out what it did today, and yet it did. So people couldn't even hold on to, you know, much smaller government principles, and it still got bigger. I don't think it's a good idea to have, you know, a state at all. You know, it's like even without exactly monarchy, the state still grew, and even with monarchy, it would grow, and monarchy was even like the start of the smallest states, at least compared to today. And let's be honest, the Libertarian Party is just dragging its ass at this point, with freedom, with getting good, air quotes, candidates, and just being able to get any influence beyond small political offices. I mean, it's just not the way to go. Want results? Do anarchy. Do the free market. get some Bitcoin, do counter economics, do freedom of speech, make videos like these, just, even just do regular capitalism, just buying stuff, not voting, doing journalism against the state. Just do that to get to know government. Don't vote for, Gary Johnson or Joe Jorgensen or whoever is in charge right now. Just don't bother with that crap, because that isn't where it's at. Just being free, making money however you choose, living however you choose, as long as you don't hurt others. That's where it is. That's where it's at.